The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello and welcome back to your afternoon cast to 1. I'm Grace Chen. The latest updates to the shooting that occurred outside Drake's mansion in Toronto are here. The security guard injured is in the critical care ward at Toronto's Sunnybrook Hospital, according to a volunteer. She had just taken in a police officer earlier, and media personnel are not allowed in. Updates to the trial for the BC Sikh temple leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar are also here. Reporter Ryan Bowles talks about the appearances of the three men responsible for the murder and who the victim was.
Karan Preet Singh, Kamal Preet Singh, and Karan Brar made their first appearance in Surrey Provincial Court this morning. The three men are on trial for the murder of Sikh activist and community leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. The three men were arrested in Edmonton last week in the midst of an ongoing investigation into ties the Indian government may have in Nijjar's murder. Nijjar was an advocate for an independent Sikh state known as Khalistan and was president of the temple where he was murdered last June. Ryan Bowles, BCIT's The Crow.
Not only that, but as the three perpetrators are in the Surrey court today, protesters outside the courtroom have gathered. These people outside are advocating for an independent Sikh state of Khalistan, in which Nijjar himself was an advocate for. They are trying to make their voices known. Reporter Ryan Bowles expands on the concerns these protesters share.
Advocate Jaspreet Singh Bath is grateful for safety in Canada, but still wants Sikh independence.
So I will always, as a citizen of Canada, I will always thankful of Canada. This is a free country. This is a country where you can breathe freely. But at the same time, as a Sikh, we need our land.
These protesters are demonstrating for the independent state of Khalistan, of which Nijjar was a known advocate. Ryan Bowles, BCIT's The Crow.
In British Columbia, the province has been granted an exception to its decriminalization pilot program. Public drug use is now recriminalized in the province. To be clear, however, these measures do not recriminalize drug use in private homes or places where people are legally sheltering. Drug possession will not be criminalized at overdose prevention sites and drug checking locations. Sachs from the Canadian Press understands that there still needs to be a balance of measures taking place with these new changes.
We know that we have to have a balance, public safety and public health. That means there needs to be sufficient health services in place, scaled out to meet people where they're at.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and 60% of Black Canadians say that they would better utilize mental health services if the mental health professionals were Black. Reporter Spencer Pomeroy speaks with one Black Vancouverite, Tinti Tembo, about the underuse of mental health services by Black Canadians and the difficulties they face accessing them.
According to Tinti Tembo, a Black Vancouverite, she says to look through more modern ways for help.
Social platforms and joining groups, mental health support groups through social media, and seeking other organizations that focus on supporting Black mental health and wellness.
For those seeking culturally appropriate mental health from a Black therapist, no further than social media could be the answer. Spencer Pomeroy, BCIT's The Crow.
According to Environment Canada, another heat wave is underway in Vancouver. Reporter Sophie Hansen looks into what some organizations are doing to assist those without access to essential supplies for extreme weather.
The 2022 BC Coroner's report highlighted that approximately 619 people died due to extreme heat exhaustion between June 25th and July 1st of 2021. To combat this year's expected heat increase, the Carnegie Housing Project is working in collaboration with local organizations to ensure supplies are available and accessible to those most vulnerable. Groups such as unhoused individuals, single-room occupants, and seniors are among those most at risk of heat exhaustion. Sophie Hansen, BCIT's The Crow.
That is all for your afternoon cast to 1. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Grace Chen, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. My name is Keenan Tregaskis, and this is your sports update to 110. Vancouver Canucks star forward Elias Pettersson missed today's practice due to an illness. This news comes one day before the Canucks take on the Edmonton Oilers in the second round of the playoffs. Pettersson had 3 assists and 0 goals in his first playoff series since signing his 8-year contract extension earlier this year. Puck drop is set for tomorrow at 7 p.m. With NHL awards season a month away, the NHL has announced the finalists for the Hart Award. Nikita Kucherov, Nathan MacKinnon, and Connor McDavid are the 3 nominees. McKinnon is the only of the 3 who has yet to win the award. McDavid has 3 Hart trophies, while Kucherov has 1. The NHL Draft Lottery is today at 3:30 p.m. Macklin Celebrini is expected to go first overall after recording 64 points in 38 games with Boston University this year. The San Jose Sharks have the best odds with a 25.5% chance of taking the first overall pick. The Montreal Canadiens, Ottawa Senators, and Calgary Flames also have a chance at winning the draft lottery and picking first overall. Speaking of the Senators, they have hired Travis Green to be their new head coach. Green was the coach of the Vancouver Canucks from 2017 to 2021 and led the team to 1 playoff appearance during that time. Green has had 1 other head coaching job in the NHL, where he was the interim head coach for the New Jersey Devils this past season. Staying in the NHL, the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Awards were announced yesterday. The award acknowledges the impact of the game nominees have. Mark Bergen, the founder of the Diversity Athletic Society and Vancouver resident, says it is an honor for his work to be recognized.
It was kind of unexpected, kind of a surprise, but in the work that I do is just a passion of mine to help kids, and so it's an extreme honor to be recognized.
The second round of the NBA playoffs are underway, and the Oklahoma City Thunder host the Dallas Mavericks today. Thunder point guard and Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is also an MVP finalist, will be leading the charge. This is the first time the Thunder have made the second round of the playoffs since 2016, where they made it all the way to the conference finals. Tip-off is at 6:30 p.m. The NBA will announce the winner of the Defensive Player of the Year award today. This year's finalists are Minnesota Timberwolves center Rudy Gobert, Miami Heat center Bam Adebayo, and San Antonio Spurs rookie and first overall pick Victor Wembanyama. If Wembanyama wins, he would be the first rookie in NBA history to win the award. Wembanyama has already won Rookie of the Year, and he was the first Spur to win the award since Tim Duncan in 1998. Moving on to the MLB, the Toronto Blue Jays start a 2-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. The Blue Jays enter tonight's game with a 16-19 record. They also possess a 5.31 bullpen ERA, the worst in the major leagues. Star players Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette are off to sluggish starts. Guerrero has 4 home runs across 35 games, while Bichette is hitting under 200 with only 1 home run so far this year. In minor league baseball, the Vancouver Canadians are having a superstar appearance at tonight's game. Marco Estrada, former Toronto Blue Jays pitcher, will be at the game as the Canadians are having a mini poster giveaway. Estrada was with the Blue Jays for 4 seasons and was a 1-time All-Star. They take on Seattle Mariners affiliate the Everett Aqua Sox with first pitch set for 7:05. Toronto Argonauts quarterback Chad Kelly has been suspended for at least 9 games. This suspension comes after an investigation into an ex-coach's lawsuit. The league also announced that Kelly is being suspended for the team's 2 preseason games for violating their gender-based violence policy. Kelly is also required to attend counseling sessions by a gender-based violence expert. Over in Europe, the Olympic torch is finally entering France. The torch is set to enter Marseille tomorrow after going on quite a journey. The torch was lit in an ancient Olympia on April 16th before boarding a ship for its month-long journey to Marseille. It will be taken across the country before being delivered to Paris on July 27th for the Olympic Games. This has been your sports update to 110. I am Keenan Tregaskis, and you are listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Recovering from an amputation is a very difficult process. Each injury is different and has to be treated as such. Reporter Matthias Jones spoke with amputee Robin Martinson about his unique journey to recovery, and Scott Headland, operator of Russell Prosthetics, about his process of helping clients.
Robin Martinson had his leg amputated in 2017 due to an accident. As we walk with Martinson around the South Surrey Recreation Park, he tells us his story.
My name is Robin Martinson. Back in 2017, I was riding a motorcycle and got hit by a car and crushed my leg. Didn't get amputated right away, though they told me they should have. And that's actually how I met Scott, because the doctor got Scott to come and talk to me about prosthetics and amputations and what the limits and not. So he came and visited me in the hospital.
Scott Headland has been a certified prosthetist for 30 years. In those 30 years, he has progressed his way to president of Orthotics Prosthetics Canada and operator of Russell Prosthetics here in Vancouver. He has also traveled to numerous countries around the world to help with immediate care needs and has helped train doctors in prosthetics.
Robin in the hospital had on his limb, he had what's called an ERTL procedure, ERTL. It's named after a doctor who pioneered the procedure. So basically the gist of the surgery is that there's a connection between the cut end of the tibia and fibula, and for his amputation is below the knee. So what it's done is it stabilizes the limb and allows us to support some weight on the end of the limb, where typically we aren't able to do that.
Scott took us on a walk through the Russell Prosthetics office. He brought us past a client who was learning to use his prosthetic arm.
And then you're going to extend your elbow. And then you're going to relax. And then you're going to bend your elbow. And then you're going to relax. And then you're going to open your hand. And we wait for the happy noise.
Happy noise.
Scott then took us to the workshop in the back, where they design and build every client's prosthetic. Robin described the challenges that he faced after his accident and first operation. Scott elaborated on his role in helping Robin and how it felt seeing him back on his feet again.
We've had a couple of challenges along the way. There was a couple of sort of trigger points or pressure points that were quite painful for him. So we've had to modify things and work around those. But it seems like I'm knocking on wood as we say this, but it seems like we've got them solved.
Because I was constantly getting him to change things, because of my condition, they were constantly having to adjust the socket. So he was constantly changing the socket. And then when we started with one system called the pin system, and because of the pressure and we decided to change the system to what's called a suction system. And because of and that's why I have the system that I have now, is because of that, because they thought that the pin was causing irritation at the end. Anyway, at the end of the day, I ended up having debridement surgery, where they cut it open and basically all cleaned it all out and sewed it back up. So I was delayed for a couple months while that healed. And then went back at it. And there was, so I couldn't put pressure on the bottom of the socket once we started up again, because it was too sensitive. And then as I was trying to get used to the socket and making some progress, my leg started to seize up. I give Scott full credit. He spent a lot of time to try to make things work right. That's the big quality of Scott. He doesn't give up. He just keeps trying stuff. After they, deaden the nerves and find out that didn't really do it, that's when they decided to do the second operation. And they cleaned up some issues they had from the first one that were, things weren't quite done as 100% as they should. We started the process all over again. Basically, you're starting from scratch. This time after the second amputation, all of a sudden, no problem. Though my leg is still pretty finicky in certain spots because they were never ever able to properly address the saphenous nerve. And because of that, I'm sensitive in that spot.
And yeah, it's been great to see him get back to riding his bike as much as he did before. He used to race pretty competitively, pretty seriously.
Scott custom designed multiple different legs for Robin. He was able to get back doing the thing he loved most, which was cycling as well as trail running.
Now I have, the first thing I got him to do is give me a cycling leg because I'm a cyclist, right? So, and of course he's like cyclist, so we got a cycling leg going so that I could ride the bike. And then we got a running leg, though I went more of an adventure, high activity leg, but you can still use it for running. It's still a running type of leg, but it's more stable. Other stuff, like when I was having all of the nerve issues before the second amputation that summer, I wanted to get on the bike just for exercise, right? And I somehow got on the bike, but I couldn't wear a socket. And so I came up with an idea, do a diagram, and took it to Scott, and he custom made. And him and I, I came up with the initial thought process, and then he built it and fine-tuned it. And I actually rode a bike on a trainer, not outside, without a leg. Right. And yet we made this harness so that I had a leg without a socket, right? So he, like I say, Scott, he's one of those guys, he just keeps trying. I mean, it's not painless, right? You can tolerate quite a bit, but you can function fairly normal. It takes longer to do things. There's lots of maintenance. You got to worry about sweating. Like, there's a lot of things to maintain, but you're not hobbling. You're not having to use a walker or a cane. You're not that's a huge benefit. And I had to do that for the first couple of years until I got my leg sorted out. Right. Believe me, I would never want to do that my whole life. That is a pain in the butt.
Through Scott and Robin's efforts, Robin has been able to get back to riding in long bike races. He competed in the 120-kilometer Fraser Valley Fondo, and Scott raced alongside him the whole way. I'm Matthias Jones for BCIT's The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.